In the middle of an active conflict, the highest levels of the United States military command have been thrown into sudden disarray. The number of sudden retirements triggered an immediate congressional hearing, where lawmakers demanded answers about why multiple four-star generals are being systematically removed from their posts. Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, was unable to cite a single military necessity for the removals. When asked directly why these specific commanders were fired during wartime, he stated only that they serve at the pleasure of the president. This lack of a strategic explanation leaves a leadership vacuum at the Pentagon. It creates a situation where veteran military commanders are no longer present to review or challenge the directives coming from the top. While the Pentagon remains silent on the strategy, the president's social media feed has become the primary source for understanding the current mission. In recent posts, Donald Trump has directly threatened to turn Iran into hell. He bypassed all standard diplomatic language to hurl profanities at a foreign nation, demanding they open the fucking strait or face total destruction. This rhetoric replaces the standard vocabulary of statecraft with the intimidation tactics of a street shakedown. The shift toward apocalyptic public threats becomes a different kind of risk when the veteran generals who traditionally serve as guardrails have just been moved off the board. The internal rift between the administration and the military brass traces back to the Secretary of War himself. In a recent speech, Pete Hegseth declared that the U.S. is fighting this war for Jesus Christ. That religious framing immediately alienated the actual soldiers on the ground, a diverse body comprising Muslims, Hindus, Sikhs, and non-believers, who serve the Constitution, not a specific faith. The generals who pushed back against this crusade framing were the ones targeted for forced retirement. By removing them, the administration is ensuring the command structure is aligned with this ideological shift. The goal isn't just to win a geopolitical conflict, but to engineer a military leadership that will execute an ideological war without institutional dissent. With the dissenters removed, the administration announced a blueprint for Iranian destruction, designating specific days to wipe out civilian infrastructure, beginning with Power Plant Day and Bridge Day. Destroying these targets halts food transport and paralyzes hospitals. By cutting off the civilian power grid, the administration is targeting the basic survival of the Iranian population. Under international law, targeting civilian infrastructure is a war crime. The rules are designed to protect non-combatants from the very starvation and lack of medical care these strikes would cause. To bypass this, the U.S. is utilizing a dual-use legal loophole. They argue that if the Iranian military uses a civilian bridge or draws power from a public grid, the entire civilian structure becomes a valid military target. This strategy means the world's dominant power is not only preparing to strike civilian targets, but has already engineered the legal defense to excuse it. The strategy remains erratic. The president recently dismissed the impact of closing the Strait of Hormuz, noting that 90% of its oil goes to China, suggesting the U.S. is economically insulated from the fallout. The president has even compared the current 30-day conflict to the multi-year timelines of the world wars. This suggests the U.S. is settling in for a long-term campaign of carpet bombing, mirroring the total destruction seen in Gaza. Without a clear exit strategy, the operation has shifted from a specific military mission into a campaign of perpetual destruction. India's Minister of External Affairs, Dr. S. Jaishankar, recently observed that the very concept of global order is shifting. His thesis is that everything is being weaponized. Nations no longer respect the traditional boundaries that separate civilian life from military objectives. The old international rule of law is being replaced by the logic of might is right, the idea that the nation with the most power dictates the rules for everyone else. This moves the world toward a future where a superpower can target civilian infrastructure with immunity, operating without internal checks or international consequences.